Everybody doing tonight? Happy Thanksgiving. We hope you're having a great night. I'm Timothy Lee from Idiosyncratic Idiots Music Meltdown on a beautiful Thanksgiving night here in Northwest Pennsylvania at the Music Nerd headquarters with the chief check writer, Gab, studio setupper, taxi cab driver, Jesse Jones.
Welcome.
Welcome, Jesse. We hope everybody's had a great Thanksgiving. We hope you're safe. You've had fun with the family. We also want to kind of covering her up, but we want to say a big shout out to our music nerd headquarters mascot Boots, who's always keeping an eye on us. We hope everybody's doing well. We'll give a chance to let everybody get in the room first before we get into our discussion on the Last Waltz by the band, the penultimate Thanksgiving concert featuring, you got it, the band, and many other who's who of the time in music. So, hope everybody ate a lot of turkey. I'm honoring the Liverpool Red. We shall not walk alone. And with a big victory, first one in 15 years over Real Madrid in the Champions Leagues on Wednesday. Go Red. I know all you are probably out there watching American football, but let's be honest. Soccer is the only football. Yes, I said that on Thanksgiving in the USA. So how was your Thanksgiving there, Jesse Jones?
Awesome. How was yours?
Blessed.
What did you eat for Thanksgiving?
I had chili over cornbread and what else did I have? That's about it. Sweet potato pie with faux ice cream.
Did you eat it? Did you have some?
I had a little taste. The pie was good, but has anybody out there ever heard of ice cream with no sugar? Can't they come up with a better name for it? Because ice cream is sugar. I don't get it.
And cream.
And cream. But mostly sugar. Hello, whoever just joined us. Thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.
How was your chili?
It was good. Time is a flat circle, you know? I think so. Hello. Thanks for being here.
Sohakutan. Hello.
Welcome to everybody who's joined us.
Time is a flat circle. Yeah.
All right, we're not going to get in debate over who's the best football team in the world, but I hasten to say right now it's Liverpool. But United has definitely had their run. I will give you credit for that. Hello, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
KZ7. Isaac 9. Hello. Christopher Roberts. Hi, how are you?
I'm Timothy Lee. You're joining us for Music Meltdown here on Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, Mo Salah. So we want to welcome everybody into the room. What we're going to discuss tonight is we are going to discuss The Last Waltz by a band called The Band and the penultimate Thanksgiving concert on November 25th, 1976 in the great San Francisco, California at the Winterland Ballroom. I'm glad you all came here.
USS Laffy says, English League, what is your favorite?
Liverpool. Liverpool all the way, baby. The Reds. I appreciate it. How was everybody's Thanksgiving? I hope everybody's safe. Why is it called The Last Waltz? Okay, so what it is they were a band that started in 1958 playing together, but this was the last concert that they did as a band together, 5 guys, Robbie Robertson, Rick Danko, Robbie Robertson on guitar, Rick Danko on bass guitar, Levon Helms on the drums, Richard Manuel on the piano, and Garth Hudson on the keyboards. It was put on by the great Bill Graham Presents in San Francisco, California at a place called the Winterland. Again, it took place on November 25th, 1976. And if anybody's out there is familiar with Bill Graham, he is famous for putting on lavish productions. So he wanted to have it was a Thanksgiving themed dinner. They started the show with ballroom dancing. Then they had some poets come on. Lauren Farragetti, one very famous beat poet in San Francisco at the time, did some poetry. And then the band came out with a wide variety of guests over the course of 5 hours. And it was an amazing show. It was directed by the great Martin Scorsese. They had world-class cinematography. Yeah, it was a rainy day here too. All right, in Philadelphia, we're on the other side of the state. We're in the northwest corner.
Delete says City will win it.
Yeah, City will. Not looking like it right now.
Dress to impress. Hello, welcome. How are you? We're great. And it's been snowy. It's been rainy in Philadelphia, huh? It's been snowy in northern Pennsylvania.
So, that was kind of the basis for this amazing night in 1976. Let me run through real quick before we get in deep, because I want to go through a little bit of the previous part of the band's history before they got to this point. But some of the guests that night included Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, Ronnie Hawkins, Bobby Charles, Neil Diamond, Van Morrison, Muddy Waters, Paul Butterfield, Ron Wood, Ringo Starr, Emmylou Harris, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young. It was a who's who of the music industry in the 70s. And like I said, Bill Graham made it into an amazing, only Bill Graham could do event. Bill Graham was a promoter. He also owned the Winterland. And it was a crazy night of music for the people, because most of the people that had bought tickets didn't even know who was going to be playing that night. So it was pretty wild.
Frank,
oh, sorry about that, Frank.
Frank, you're doing well today, but your brother had to cancel Thanksgiving dinner today because he had to work. Oh, we're sorry.
Sorry to hear that.
It's a bummer when people have to work on Thanksgiving. But we thank everybody that's willing to do so, because we know sometimes some places you just have to. Who did you vote for? I did a write-in vote personally. I voted for Tim. I wrote everyone. I did write-in vote, and I voted for Tim.
Yeah, I'm not really going to go into the whole political thing. That's not my expertise.
Good. All right.
Good for you.
Freezer. 808. Nice.
We appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
That's a smart
I'm
decision
Timothy Lee from
these
Music
days.
Meltdown. This is the great Jesse Jones, head of Jesse Jones Productions, who puts on this event. We try to go live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. But again, tonight we want to talk about the band in the Last Waltz, seeing as it's Thanksgiving, and we figured we would go with a very special Thanksgiving concert relating to music, and that was the Last Waltz featuring the band. There was 5,000 people in attendance that night, and amazingly, to tell you what a show Bill Graham put on that night, there was 390 workers for those 5,000 people in attendance. They had a full Thanksgiving dinner before the show. Like I said, it started with ballroom dancing. They had some only San Francisco can do some like beat poetry and poetry reading, and then they went into the music. Sorry to hear that, brother. I'm not sure who you're.
Barry, we kind of look alike. Oh.
Sorry, bro. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but.
Oh, you're a handsome guy, Tim. You know.
Oh, that's they're very kind of you. Are you sure
Barry, you must
okay?
be a handsome guy too.
But so happy Thanksgiving to you too. Eddie, thanks for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving. We're glad you could join us. We're talking about the Last Waltz and the band in 1976 at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco.
Damala. I'm not his wife, but thank you so much. You're such a sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for having a job. I'm thankful for having a roof over my head. But most importantly, I'm thankful for having all the people who have subscribed and who join us on Thursday nights to just sit here and, talk music, just kind of create a family. My goal, or our goal when we started discussing doing this,
you're beautiful too,
is to, yep, it sure does. MRXY, you're exactly right. You can go right on YouTube and you can watch the whole thing right now. In fact, thank you, Eddie. I appreciate for subscribing.
Eddie.
We just finished watching it. I finally got her to sit through most of it. I've watched it many times. So you can go. It's on YouTube, Movies and TV. Just look it up, The Last Waltz. But let's talk about the band first, the band proper. So again, we're talking about 4 Canadians and Levon Helm. So it's Robbie Robertson on guitar, Rick Danko on the bass, Garth Hudson on the woodwind instruments as well as the keyboards, and Richard Manuel on the piano, and then the American Levon Helm plays drums and sings as well. They started in 1958, and from 1958 to 63, they called themselves the Hawks, and they backed up Ronnie Hawkins. Now, Ronnie Hawkins is famous for a song called "Who Do You Love." I'm sure you've heard it. Again, it's on the movie. Now, again, The Last Waltz was put out as an album and as a theatrical release, directed by Martin Scorsese. They used some amazing cinematography.
Thank you.
Isn't that nice?
Eddie's. Frank says, "Do you like cornbread? Did you try that from Boston Market? Have you tried?"
I have not tried. We don't have a Boston Market around here, so.
We did actually. We had cornbread and
nice
with chili. We loved it.
I love that you've got that anniversary set. I know that they've released a lot of the extras with that. It was an amazing night of music. So from 1958 to 1963, they called themselves the Hawks, and they were backing up. Eddie, we're from Northwest Pennsylvania, in the northwest corner of Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes south of the New York state line, south of Jamestown, New York. So from 58 to 63, they were backing up Ronnie Hawkins. Then in 1968, a big event happened to them. They ran into Bob Dylan had broke his.
Maryland,
they took Bob Dylan out as the backing band, and that was the first time Bob Dylan went out with an electric band instead of just being kind of the acoustic guitar troubadour, and that was a big deal. In fact, they did take a lot of kind of abuse at that time, because a lot of people didn't want Bob Dylan to be going electric. They wanted him to be that kind of troubadour guy, but the band backed them up. Then in 1968, they quit working with Bob Dylan, and then they became the band, and they put out a record called "The Music from the Big Pink." From Big Pink. Music from Big Pink. That was the first record they did in 1968.
Eddie? What's the weather like in Maryland right now? And Frank says, do you have a Rite Aid around your way? Because they're closing a lot of them down, and that's where I get my medicine at.
Yeah, I don't think there's a Rite Aid in this area.
What's the one uptown? That's right by like Little Caesars and stuff.
CVS.
Oh, that's CVS.
Yeah, I think there's a Rite Aid up in Jamestown, New York, but I don't think there's one. There's not one around here. Yeah, it's been cold here too, Eddie. We've definitely starting to get to feel the winter vibes.
We got a little snow today too.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for that information.
On this day in 1974, John Lennon made his last live appearance, 3 songs, and he played tambourine only on That Word Is Back. That is really cool to know. Thank you for sharing that. We're big fans of John Lennon.
Yeah, Eddie, I'm not a big fan of the wintertime either. I don't drive. I only have an electric scooter and I walk. So yeah, the wintertime becomes a little more complicated, but thank God I'm only like 2 3/4 miles from work.
So this was Lennon's last live appearance. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. See?
So
thank you for that.
It was 1968 that the band put out their first record.
Though. We would have loved it if John Lennon could have probably put out a lot more good stuff.
Nice. So 1968 was the first record. I think most of you, if you are familiar with the band, know some of the songs, Up on Cripple Creek, The Weight, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, The Shape I'm In, I Shall Be Released, This Wheel's on Fire, Chest Fever, Ophelia, Caledonia Mission. They put out a wonderful array of music, and sadly, Richard Manuel sadly died. Yep, they sure did, on the Basement Tapes. That's where they met him, in Woodstock, New York. Bob Dylan had broke his leg, and he ended up in Woodstock, and that's where the guys. Now, originally when they did the Basement Tapes, which by the way were released in 1975 officially, but recorded well before that, Levon Helm, the drummer for the band and the singer, was not involved in the project, but he did do a lot of the re-recording and the overdubs for the official release in 1975. So you are correct. That's a great call. And that was a big part of their career. That was a couple years they spent with Bob Dylan. And then they did tour again with Bob Dylan, I believe in 74. But originally, the first time they took Bob Dylan out electric was in 66. And so there's a lot of connection between Bob Dylan and the band. And there's also, yep,
MRM
there you go. Isle of Wight and the Academy of Music in 71. So I believe the Academy of Music, that's in London, I believe. Might be New York City. I'm not sure. But there's a big connection between Bob Dylan and the band, for sure. So there's no doubt that there's that connection between the both of them. Let me take a sip of this. We're powered by Colombian coffee today.
Oh, there we go. This one must be lagging behind.
So we're again, welcome. My name is Timothy Lee. You're here at Music Meltdown, Idiosyncratic Idiots Music Meltdown here on YouTube. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We're talking about the Last Waltz and the band's final performance at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco, California on November 25th, 1976. So again, let's go through a list of some of the guys that played on the show. Obviously, number one, they wanted to.
MRM says Levon quit in 1966 because he did not want to be just a backup to a singer. He returned near the end of Basement Tapes.
That is correct. That's correct. You're on the ball. You know your history. That's very true. But he did come back and was heavily involved in the overdubs and being on the official release that I believe is 1975 when they put the Basement Tapes out for everybody to buy. But Levon was an integral part of the band, bringing that Americana folk music. Obviously, he went on to have a pretty successful solo career, winning Grammy Awards. Especially, I love a record that he did called Dirt Farmer, and I believe that was a few years before he died. Unfortunately, Levon passed away in 2012. Sadly, Richard Manuel died in 1986, and Rick Danko passed away in 99. And then I'm sure if you're into the band, Robbie Robertson died in 2023.
MRM says Robbie Robertson was more involved with 1975 album, not Levon.
I think Levon did play drums, and I know he was involved in some of the re-recording and some of the overdub stuff on that record. But you could be right. Robbie Robertson was heavily involved with Albert Grossman, so there was obviously who was Bob Dylan's manager, and obviously what we have to talk about, and the big elephant in the room, is the animosity between Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm. And also some of the other guys in the band. I don't think they carried it as personally, but sadly those two really never mended fences, and it all had to do over who's my favorite group. Wow, man, that's a hard one, Eddie. You're putting me on the spot. I'd probably have to say the Allman Brothers. If I had to pick one, I'd say all the segments of the Allman Brothers through the different parts of their career. But
Eddie says, yep.
you definitely have to
good.
understand the situation between. Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that. Between Levon and Robbie Robertson. For those of you who don't know, Robbie Robertson. You want to answer that?
Frank says, it's just my brother living with me now. Everyone else is gone and I miss them a lot.
I'm sure you do,
Frank. We're sorry.
Bless you, Frank. I understand. My family lives all the way on the other side of the country. So this is my family right here. And Boots, our musical mascot. So that's my family. So I understand. I'm sorry to hear that. Hang in there. You know that I know you have people that care about you, and certainly God cares about you, so that's the most important thing.
We're glad to have you here with us,
Eddie. Frank. You can't go wrong with Eat a Peach. I mean, and the thing is the other thing I like, Eddie, is the second, the last parts of their career when, excuse me, Derek Trucks and Warren Haynes. Obviously it was Alan Woody and Warren Haynes that really saved that band. They were dead and buried, and Seven Turns really turned their career around. Then they had that whole second career. So, that's a good choice, but Eat a Peach, you can't go wrong. The only part of their career was the Arista records, like Reach for the Sky, and that was when Dan Toller and Frankie Toller and can't think of that kid playing bass. Oh, David Goldflies. Yeah, that was a rough time for them, but I try to forget about that. I'm sure they do too. And rest in peace, sticky bets because we had lost another one here recently. So, but as far as the connection,
MRM says, I saw the band, minus Robbie, when they opened for Grateful Dead in Toronto. The Dead encore members of the band joined them. Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, that would have been great.
Nice. Spike Jones and Johnny Mathis. You can't go wrong there, Frank. You can't go wrong there. That's awesome. Yeah, they did get back together, I believe, I want to say in the mid 80s, but that was without Robbie Robertson. And then they played together for quite a while. And then with the passing of Rick Danko is when it kind of really, that was pretty much, that's that. But, the big thing was the publishing and the royalty rights between Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm. There was a big, unfortunately and sadly, Levon went to his grave still being extremely upset with Robbie Robertson, feeling that he didn't get his share of credit. The story goes that through Albert Grossman, that Robbie Robertson had just said to the guys, because they were questioning why his name was on all written by, and it was always just Robbie Robertson. And he basically said, well, here, let me just give you some money instead of putting their names on the publishing rights. And the rest is history. So much so that when Levon Helms died, Robbie Robertson reportedly wanted to go to his funeral, and his wife said, no such luck. She carried the grievance right along in his death, which is really sad. But there's a lot behind the story, in Levon's book, This Wheel's on Fire, he's quoted as saying, when you watch The Last Waltz, Robbie Robertson was not a singer, never has been a singer. And Levon is quoted as saying that mic was never turned on that whole night. So you see, in fact, we just watched it, you see times where Robbie's singing. I'm not so sure that's actually him singing, but there was the other big story behind this event was why Neil Diamond was on the movie. Everybody couldn't. Levon Helm was extremely upset, and for what those of you who don't know, Robbie Robertson had just produced Neil Diamond's latest record, and that's why he wanted him there to push that record. So, again, that's what I love about music, especially music from the 70s, when there was a lot of backstories and there was a lot of things going on behind the scene. I mean, obviously, it was not the internet age where,
Frank says, my dad watches John Wayne movies.
Oh, you can't go wrong there with the Duke. You can't go wrong with that.
Those are some good movies.
What are your favorite movies, Jess? You even watch movies?
Educational. I'm a nerd, and I love educational things, documentaries.
Tell them some of the educational movies you like.
Anything that has to do with traveling, animals, could be different, focusing on different countries, different people, different cultures.
Where have you traveled to?
I've only traveled in my mind over YouTube.
Oh. There you go, folks.
I've been as far south as Florida.
Now let's pose her the big question. Have you ever been on an airplane before, Jesse Jones?
No.
46 years old, folks, never been on a plane. Welcome to Western Pennsylvania.
As far west as, how far west was it? My sister.
Iowa? That's like one state over.
I don't know if I visited her when she was in Iowa or just Illinois. I don't know.
Yikes.
Have I ever been on a ship? No.
When you ask people in Northwest Pennsylvania, is there anything on west of the Mississippi, they look at you and go, no.
MRM says, Acadian Driftwood on the Last Waltz, the band with backup vocals from Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. You can't get more Canadian than that.
Yeah,
Nice.
that Once Upon a
That's
Time in
awesome.
America, Eddie. That's a great movie. I know Robert De Niro, the great Robert De Niro. Uh, yeah, that's true. I love that, and I love Helpless with that Neil Young version on there. That is, and they've got that Canadian thing, but that was the kind of cool thing because they brought that Toronto, Ontario, Canada vibe with the four guys being Robbie, uh, Garth, Richard, and Rick. But then Levon brought the whole blues, country, Americana, and then they kind of melded it together. And I think that's what made them so special.
Can I ask you a question? This may sound like a really stupid question, and it probably was addressed, and it may just be my slow intake of information.
Go ahead. Go
And
ahead.
because I'm not really versed on these things, but and maybe, and please don't get mad at me for asking this because I'm just coming from this from an innocent perspective. But is Neil Young Canadian?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool.
So is Joni Mitchell.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that would have been Gordon Lightfoot would have been a great choice. But again, and I don't think a lot of people know this, especially the young people, but the reason Neil Diamond was on there because Robbie Robertson had just produced his latest record and he was the one that wanted him on there.
Can I address this? So MRM says they should have had Gordon Lightfoot, not Neil Diamond.
I know, that's what I just.
I know, but I'm just saying in case anybody watches this later.
All right,
go ahead. Address that.
Did you ever see Everybody Loves Ringo? I saw
Frank says.
Thank you. Amen. Yes, it was a big first time in 15 years we beat Real Madrid.
APO says congrats on Liverpool's win last night.
After two brutal losses in the Champions League's final, that was a big victory last night, and it could have been a lot more than 2-0. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was a big. I didn't get a chance. I was working, but I did listen to the game on Sirius Radio, and man, it'd have been a heck of a night to be at Anfield, that's for sure. So thank you. I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, and thanks for joining us. We're talking about the band, The Last Waltz, 1976 at the okay, well, sorry for those of you who don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Who'd have thunk?
MRM says, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys.
There you go. WKRP, Howard Hessman, the great. Yeah, what a TV show that was. Do you even remember that one?
No.
There you go. The Youth of America. No clue. WKRP.
Have you ever had tofu turkey?
That I cannot say I have had tofu turkey.
Sounds good. I don't know if I have either.
I've had tofu, but not tofu turkey.
What do they call it?
I think the Gilmore Girls did an episode about
or something.
Yeah, tofurkey or something like that. I think that was the Gilmore Girls. I think, but whoa, we're going to the Gilmore Girls.
You did. You're going there.
I went there. Wow. Woo.
Frank asks, are you a Philadelphia Eagles fan?
Well, Frank, let me tell you this. Now, by the way, Jay Sirianni, your head coach of the Eagles, is from right up the road in Lakewood, New York, which is right up 20 minutes up the road from here. But no, actually, I'm not. If I was to watch American football, which I'm not a huge watcher of, it would be the Chicago Bears because I was born and raised in Chicago. So I try not to be a fair weather fan, and I am a Chicago sports fan. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. But, it's a little rough being a Chicago fan because they didn't start getting good. Michael Jordan comes along. This is all after I moved out of Chicago. So it's not always the greatest thing to be a Chicago fan, especially this year in football with they can't seem to win a game to save their life, but they get close. But unfortunately, close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades. But so anybody else? Oh, Bob
Bob
Newhart.
Newhart show Thanksgiving episode. They got drunk and ordered
Moo Goo Guy Pan. Yeah, I tell you, there's some great old TV shows that they always had the Thanksgiving special. So,
that
you
sounds
know,
good.
yeah.
That sounds like a good turkey, like alternative Thanksgiving meal.
Well, here's the big thing: is do you even know who Bob Newhart is?
Yeah,
Who's Bob Newhart?
he had a program, television program.
What was it called?
Bob Newhart and the Bob Newhart and special guest.
It was called the Bob Newhart Show, but
That was close.
Bob Newhart and special guests. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you're having a great night. For those of you who I incorrectly assumed, for those of you celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you had a great time with your family. I hope you were able to spend some time with your family. Um, I know that there's a lot out there that.
MRM says Detroit Lions only get good Thanksgiving and after.
Yeah, that's the truth. They haven't won so good on Thanksgiving here recently, but all it takes is the Chicago come into town and boom, they're good again. I mean, I don't know what to say. I can't believe. I think they've lost 4 games, or they've lost. The Bears have lost 6 in a row, and I think they've lost 4 by 10 points. So they've been close, but horseshoes and hand grenades, folks. Unfortunately, not the winning score of a football game. So we hope everybody's having a great night. And we hope that if you are alone or if you're not near any family, that you've had somebody that
we're glad you're here with us.
That you were able to stop by with us. And again, I wanted to discuss a little bit about the Last Waltz. I think another thing about that concert that made it so special, and it needs to be pointed out, is that what is Frank saying there?
Frank says, I just like when the Eagles win because everyone tells me that they win because every Saturday we make sandwiches for the homeless people. I always like helping out. That's
good.
Very,
that's awesome,
very nice
Frank.
of you,
God
Frank.
bless you for doing that. I know that's an issue, and that's an amazing thing. And thank you for your service to helping people in need. There's so many of us right now that are hurting and really struggling to get by. And I'm not going to go into a political diatribe. I'm not that educated in all that, but I know that we pray that things will get better and things will start lightening up on the working class. And we're thankful that, well, exactly, Eddie. Thank you for saying that, Frank.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
an
you,
amazing
Eddie.
thing, and I appreciate.
Eddie says wonderful.
I
Frank.
appreciate your what you're doing, and we just hope that it does start coming around a little bit and making it easy for the working class people, and
anybody that's struggling.
Yeah, anybody that's struggling.
Frank says that's volunteer work. That's what we do.
That's a beautiful thing, and
if it wasn't for people that do volunteer work and everybody that does things like that of the kindness of their heart, I don't know where we would be today. Because
that's the truth.
People that volunteer do so much for the community and for the people in need that nobody else could do.
We usually just do lives on Thursday night. We both work full time. So did the band ever unite with Robbie after the Last Waltz? No, they did not. As far as I know, they did not. They did not. And again, it's kind of a sad thing, that usually, Eddie, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock Pacific on Thursday night. And we will definitely be going live again next Thursday. Hit the notification bell if you need to, and if we do decide to do one. But normally, she works a full-time schedule, so do I. But Thursday nights seem to work out the best for us. So, and seeing as she's the head check writer, the gaff, the studio setup artist, the makeup artist, because boy, I gotta look so pretty and beautiful, and the head check writer, and
No checks.
the overall boss.
No money.
And so
No moolah.
oh wait.
No moolah coming from
Wait,
you.
yeah, and boss,
Yeah.
but you heard it. Now she's saying I signed a contract and now I'm not even getting paid. What?
Until we get paid.
Oh. So yeah, thanks, Eddie. I appreciate that. But
You know us too well, Eddie.
it's a sad thing. Getting back to that question about did Ravi ever play with the band again? It's a sad thing because there's so many of those cases where, today the young kids today don't understand. Back in the music business in the 60s and 70s, it was all about publishing and about
Epio says, so many amazing artists playing at the Last Waltz. A real send-off for the band after 16 years on the road. The 5 joined on stage at Rick Danko concert in 1978.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, when they were inducted into, which you don't want to get me started in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know what you all think about Jan Wenner and Rolling Stone magazine and all that. I'm not going to go in the diatribe. You don't want me to get started on the madness that is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but
there were a lot of amazing artists.
But it was an amazing night, and the amazing thing was from what my understanding was that a lot of the people that had bought tickets didn't even know who was going to play that night. They kind of shrouded a lot of it, and so the music started at 9 o'clock that night. Again, they had a full sit-down Thanksgiving dinner meal. Then they had some ballroom dancing. Then they had poetry reading, and then at 9 p.m., the band came on, and I mean, rolled through the whole list. And I thought it was so apropos that the first guest out was Ronnie Hawkins, which started it all in 1958 with those guys when they were called the Hawks, and really taught them, because they were playing the Chitlin circuit, and they were doing, like, I don't know, I think it was the Blues Brothers, like where you go to the bar where they have chicken wire up and people are throwing beer bottles and all that. That's kind of what they were facing in that, for that go round. And I think and it might have been the reason why they got kind of tired of the road, because that was a rough, but then they rolled right into the Bob Dylan thing in 66, and then from 68 on. Now, I mean, obviously this was a big thing, the Last Waltz. But let's not forget 73 when they played at Watkins Glen for 600,000 people with the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers. Arguably almost as famous of a concert as Woodstock was in 69. So if you're not familiar with that, I suggest you look it up. So many great stories how the day before the actual concert, when they were sound checking, by all reports, I was only, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old, so certainly I was not there, but it was at Watkins Glen Raceway in upstate New York. And the soundtrack day, the day before the actual concert, was seemingly the day that was actually better than the concert. There was a lot of, shall I say, mind-altering substance being consumed, and there was... I know that like Rick Danko fell off the stage, and there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened. So I think the actual event wasn't quite as good as, but
Frank says, did you ever see a movie?
Oh, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Mom, for joining us.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
Bless you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Joining us all the way from Florida.
Yep.
Ronnie Hawkins and the band left U.S. and played bars across Ontario. Wow.
For sure.
Cool. That's awesome.
And you gotta love, who do awesome. You love? And the other thing, excuse me, the other thing that I want you all to realize, if you go onto YouTube, which is it's called, the name of the channel, I think it just says YouTube Movies and TV. It's called Last Waltz. is where right at the beginning when Ronnie Hawkins comes out, he looks over to his right and he goes, "Big time, Bill, big time." And he's talking to Bill Graham. And that's because rest in peace, Bill. Bless you for all you did for the music industry and the concert business. But the guy knew how to throw a party and make it lavish and make it so over the top. And so I love that. That's almost one of my favorite parts of the movie when Ronnie Hawkins looks over and he's like, "Big time, Bill, big time." So, and that was what.
Did you know that they went and played the bars across Ontario?
Well, I knew that they had traveled.
That's
They
pretty
traveled
cool.
quite a bit. I mean, we're talking 1958 to 63. So, I mean, it was
That's
5 years.
cool. The band, as Leon and the Hawks, released several singles in early 60s.
Indeed, they did. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
What was it Leon and the Hawks before it was the band?
Well, yeah, because
Wow.
when they were working with Ronnie Hawkins, they were called the Hawks. So that was originally when they started out as like a bar band when they first started. So
what's the weather like in Florida, Mom? What's the weather like in Florida right now? Okay. It's like I think it's like a 6-second delay.
But we appreciate all of you. We appreciate all of you joining, and that's a great Mr. I'm not exactly sure how to say your name. This one right here, but
MRM.
But I really appreciate it. I love having people like you in the chat. You're obviously a music fan. I'm going to hasten to say that you're kind of a more mature individual. I'm not going to use that OLD word, but I'm assuming you've been around a little bit because that's, a lot of the young kids don't know about this stuff. And I don't think they understand how different the business was then as it is to now. And, obviously publishing and royalties was a big part of that business back then. It wasn't so much doing concerts that made them money. It was selling records. And that's the difference today, where today it's more about getting out on the road and, running through a town 3 or 4 times a year. Whereas, back in the day, they would only have to come through a town once a year because, it wasn't such big business. So, and that's the stuff that intrigues me. And I hope, if there's any young people out there interested in understanding the difference of the music today with all the streaming services and the internet and all that kind of stuff.
And Frank, we're glad that Kevin keeps you company. That's really sweet.
Okay.
70.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Cool. So you're a few years older than me.
That's why you got so much to teach us.
Yeah, and that's and thank you so much. Bless you.
Table.
Yeah, bless you for being in here because it's a guy like you that can keep this alive. That's kind of all. That's one of my missions in my humble little life that I have.
Thank you for being here.
Is to try to just help the youth keep music alive and really continue to, because it's people like you and me that these stories are going to go away with, because unfortunately a lot of the kids just don't seem to have a lot of interest in it. So that's my thing, is just trying to introduce them to the difference of today as it was. Nice and comfortable, high of 71 tomorrow. Wow, must be nice there, Mom. There's no 71 here. And here's the only where it's 71 degrees right here, because I'd be out riding my scooter, but not 71 anymore.
Just imagine how you could ride your scooter all year round down there in Florida.
Yeah, it'd be great. I love it.
He has to put the scooter up in the winter when it starts to snow. I don't think they make tracks for. Yeah.
Unfortunately, no, Eddie. She just won't say yes. I've tried, I've asked, I've begged, I've pleaded, but excuse me?
Not unfortunately. We're best friends, Eddie. We're best friends.
Wow. Eddie, thanks, man. You just brought it all home. Well, not raining.
We have a long history, Eddie. There's a lot of a story there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I love that
wait a minute,
shirt.
let me read it. My
Read it.
t-shirt says, I may be old, but I
Amen.
saw all the good bands, saw Rolling Stones, Dylan, Pink Floyd, among others in the 70s. That is awesome. Yeah, definitely.
That's great.
Definitely.
I love that. That is awesome.
That was the epitome, the peak of music.
It's okay, Eddie. Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna go to the grave with my one big regret that.
There's a big long story there, Eddie. Someday maybe we have a lot of time, we can go into some of the backstory. But we're best friends. We've been friends for
a big, long
16
story.
years.
The fact that I've just begged and begged and begged, and you said no, no, and no. How was that a big story?
For good reasons. We don't have enough time to go into that today. We'll be here for a couple of days trying to explain all that.
Oh, sweet, man. Yeah, I saw the Eddie, if you go back to the channel,
Eddie saw Stones at the Gardner. Wow.
If you go back to the channel, our channel, you'll see I did a story about seeing the Stones in 1981 on the Tattoo U tour at the LA Coliseum with 106,000 and Prince opening up the show. Go back and check it out, Eddie. I think you'll enjoy it. I love the Stones. I mean, okay, so for us, let's just say us mature folk here in the chat with us. Here's the way I always looked at it. I thought like the Stones was like the band for the stoners, and the Beatles were the band for the nerds. And the Who was the band for the people that were really far out there. So yeah, 3-hour show. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. What if you get a chance, Eddie, and I say this almost every time we go on YouTube, if you get a chance, go out and see Government Mule. If you haven't heard of them, look them up on the internet. Government Mule, GOV' Mule, Warren Haynes. And if you go and see him, and I promise you it'll be a reasonable ticket price, you're going to get a 3-hour show, especially if they do a single show where it's just Government Mule, and they do that a lot. You'll easily get a 3-hour show, and it'll be a night.
Frank says, how was both of your Thanksgiving Day today? Did you stay home or did you visit with some people? Well, I guess, Frank, I went yesterday kind of to visit some family, and so that we could do our live and just the two of us hang out and have Thanksgiving chili together today. Was yours a good Thanksgiving? Thank you for asking, Frank.
Okay, so for those of you that saw the Stones in 81, so when I saw them, it was at the LA Coliseum. It was Prince opening up with George Thorogood and the Destroyers, Jay Giles Band, and the Rolling Stones. And ironically, for those of let's keep thanks. I'm glad you had a great Thanksgiving, Frank. That was one of the first concert tours that had corporate promotion. I believe it was Jovan Musk, and that was all put together by, you got it, the great Bill Graham, who also did The Last Waltz. The guy had his fingers in so much, and I highly recommend, if you haven't read it yet, it may be in your public library. I'm not so sure about that, but if you can't find it, I'm sure you can find it on eBay or something like that. But read the Bill Graham book. It's an amazing story. He was a Holocaust survivor. He got to America in New York City. He was adopted, and the rest is history. But the other thing that I highly recommend you go out and look at is Wolfgang's Vault, if you're not familiar with that. But if you remember, Bill Graham had a lot to do with the old, psychedelic concert posters.
Did you see what ABO said? Saw the Stones at the Superdome in 81. General admission, 87,500 people.
I know.
Wow.
What a tour that was. When I saw them, it was 106,000. So, I mean, they were doing some brisk business, and that's a great record. That was they played Star, and
at the Superdome. Local New Orleans.
There you go.
George
There you
Thorogood,
go.
Stones. Wow.
I love
Wow,
the
that'd be
Neville
great.
brothers. Ivan Neville, Cyrus Neville, Cyrus. I believe his name is Cyrus. Uh, oh man, awesome.
Eddie says Jay
Yes.
Giles played at my college back in the day. They
man.
were excellent.
Peter Wolf is the man. I love that record, Blow Your Face Out. That is such a great record. I have wore the grooves off many of those albums, man, especially that Blow Your Face Out. Wooba Gooba with the green teeth. You gotta love Peter Wolf and those intros to those songs. What's that chick with the long blonde hair? Reputa Beauty. And Magic Dick says Rapunzel, and he says Reputa Beauty. That is so. That is great stuff, man. I love Peter Wolf, and he's still doing it too. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jay Giles passed away, but Peter Wolf was still out there doing it, people, and Lord have mercy, man. That guy I love the Stones, and that was a great show, and I remember that. And by the way, that was $55. For those of you who haven't seen that video about the whole Prince incident at that show in LA, but I was going to college at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It was $55 for a bus ride from Vegas down to LA, plus a ticket to the show and a bus ride back and a stop at the world's largest McDonald's in Barstow, California for $55.
Frank says,
cool.
The first movie he saw in the theater was Inside Out. It was pretty good, but he never saw the second one yet. Did you see that movie?
I don't think so.
MRM says, I had a chance to see the Stones CNIB concert, but Oshawa was way too far, over 100 miles. This was 79. Cast of SNL and Jerry Garcia were at the evening show.
Wow. Can't go wrong with a little Jerry, depending on if he was somewhat human at that point. Sorry if I keep seeing like I'm only half-faced.
We tried to switch the orientation, but we couldn't get it figured out.
Yeah, we're going to try to come up with.
Appio says, Bill Graham had the band play at his Arrowhead Ranch in Parksville, New York in 1991, about 6 months before the helicopter crash. Wow.
Amazing. I mean, Bill Graham, and I was fortunate enough. I grew up in the city of Chicago,
what was the helicopter crash?
That's where Bill Graham died in Northern California.
But
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but then I moved to Reno, Nevada, and I saw so many great. It used to be called BGP, Bill Graham Presents, and saw so many. From Santana to the Dead to REO Speedwagon. He put on so many shows all throughout the West Coast. And then of course you go back to the 70s where, the Fillmore East and all the great shows, the Allman Brothers obviously being number one, but hang on a second, say something.
Hopefully that. Are you going to turn the volume off on that?
I think.
So that part. Oh, he's actually.
What's up, Larry? My friend Larry, who, by the way, Mr. Larry B, we'll call him, the maestro of the financial situation. This guy is a musical nerd just like all of us, and God bless you, Larry B. He just texted me and he said, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little freaky to turn on my TV and see you staring at me. I love it. We made it big time, Bill, big time. So kudos to you. Happy Thanksgiving, Larry. I hope everything's going well. I hope you're having a good night. We're just talking a little bit about the Last Waltz and the band and November 25th, 1976 at the Great Winterland Ballroom, which, by the way, for those of you who have seen the movie, and I pointed this out to the mediocre-looking Jesse Jones over here, because I'm not allowed to say she's beautiful looking, so don't give me any hate. But go ahead, throw it in the chat. It's not gonna hurt my feelings. Is
Echo, use different adjective to describe me, please.
oh, interesting looking.
That's a good one.
When is the next time you are going to be streaming live again? Because you two, oh, thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. So are you. We'll be going live again Wednesday. Next
live.
Thursday. Sorry, next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Same time we did tonight.
Thank you,
And
Frank.
thank you, Frank.
So much. You're so nice. We love having you here.
But
MRM says, "Oh, Eddie, thank you also."
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. It means a lot. You know, it's great when we have some people to come in here and chat, and I just, I still can't go back and say enough about Bill Graham. And
our MRM says Fifth Dimension IMP, who bothered Superman in the comics.
I'm going to take your word for that, young man, because I'm not a big comics reader, so I am not authority on anything comic books, that's for sure. That definitely was not something.
Cool. Okay, so that's the name. That's where you got your name from? There's an arrow. See here, read this.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Well, yeah, no doubt. Albert Grossman had a huge.
Don't forget, Albert Grossman was a big influence on the band.
Exactly,
career.
and I'm not. I don't know about you, young APO. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I'm not sure that. I'm not sure that.
Let us know.
I'm not sure that Albert Grossman was a good thing for the band. I think he kind of was part of the split and the divide between. Obviously Robbie Robertson was an entrepreneur in the band. One of the reasons that he was behind working closely with Scorsese and producing and editing The Last Waltz is because he wanted to go into Hollywood. He wanted, which he did, and started doing movie scores and the like. But I think it created a schism between especially Levon. And again, I'm not, there's a lot of different stories, and I've read a lot this week and the last couple of weeks as I started thinking about doing this, that some people just said Levon was a cantankerous Southerner. So, it could be. Obviously I wasn't there. I don't know, but I thought it was really interesting that part in Levon's book, which I have read, This Wheel's on Fire, where he talks about how that mic was never turned on that whole night. And yet, if you watch the movie, you see Robbie supposedly singing a lot. And I know he wasn't a singer. That wasn't his gift. So, and again, I don't know what, I can just go by what I've read in different articles I've read and things. But I will say this. Levon Helm's legacy lives on through his daughter Amy, and they're still doing the Midnight Rambles in Woodstock, New York. She's still a big player out there. Woodstock, New York had a big part to do, or West Saugerties, in that area, had a big part to do with the band, the whole Bob Dylan connection, the Pink House. It was a big part of their career, and Levon stayed there throughout until he passed, and that was his home headquarters. He used to do those midnight rambles where guys would just come up, but the thing that I love, and it's also in The Last Waltz, which we just watched.
He watched.
Well, I watched most of it again for the 20th time, but she watched a little bit. But when that one interview with Levon where he talked about his upbringing and his influences, and he talked about the cross-pollination of country and blues and rockabilly and what other ones was he talking about? But how it kind of brought it all together. No, I don't think that was written.
Eddie said, did Elton John make a song about Levon? Oh.
Yes,
that-
he did. Tiny Tim did show up during the
Oh.
basement tape show.
Did you?
I don't think Levon is written. I don't think that song is about Levon Helm. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I was wondering that myself, but I don't think it was.
Could look it up.
I don't think it was.
Tiny Tim showed up during the basement tape sessions.
Yeah, and that was with Bob Dylan in Woodstock. Oh, no problem, Eddie. No problem. Frank, sorry to hear. I'm just glad you joined us. You know, you made our Thanksgiving. We're so thankful for all of you that have joined us tonight. This is what makes this special for me. It's very hard when there's not a lot of interaction with the chat and people are bringing up their ideas or their thoughts. And this is the purpose of why we do this every week.
APO says, I saw his daughter Amy Helm and his
Oh,
grandson play with Phil Lesh and friends.
Awesome,
8/20,
awesome.
22.
You are a blessed man,
Or
young man.
8/20,
I've read a lot about that. And Amy Helm, I've listened to some of her music. She's very talented. And I love that she's carrying on the things that her dad did.
APO says, in Bethel, New York at
Yasgur's Farm. That's where Woodstock was.
Oh, wow.
So in Bethel,
cool.
New York. So yeah, that's amazing. Wow, you're a blessed young man. I wish I could go out to. I don't get to do concerts that much anymore. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of shows, but I don't really get a chance to go out as much anymore. So, but yeah, that's awesome. And I do. Amy is definitely a talented young lady, and I highly suggest you go out. And for those of you out there, you know, we've talked about the band a little bit, but I suggest you go out and check out Dirt Farmer by Levon Helm. That's a great record, and I believe it won him a Grammy Award for it too as well. Oh, thanks, Eddie. I appreciate it. You're super cool too. Thanks for joining us.
Eddie, you are super cool. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, the Three Stooges. That might be a bit much for. I don't think my mom would watch the Three Stooges either, Frank. So,
Frank, I love the Three Stooges. I remember that show. I watched it a lot. That was fun.
Yeah, because she incorporates Larry, Moe, and Curly all in one. Welcome to my world, folks.
They were beating on each other, and
there you go. There. Oh,
I'm eating my pie. I'm trying not to be rude. I'm sorry.
Oh, be yourself. Why be polite for them and not polite for me?
I'm sorry. I was a little hungry.
So,
I'm sorry.
You know, that's a good question about Albert Grossman, though. I don't know how to look at that. I'm not really sure on. Quit doing that. You're just gonna eat. Just eat. It's not like they've never seen anybody eat before. For Pete's sakes, don't try to be a woman now. Golly.
Don't be rude.
It's not being rude. I mean, as long as you're not chewing with your mouth open, then. Lord, I digress, folks. Welcome to my world. And you wonder about all these lines and so I mean, I don't know. I still, man, now I'm on this Albert Grossman thing because I really don't. I'm not sure if he was. I know he was heavily involved with Bob Dylan as well, and it seemed like.
APO says Grossman penned the deal that allowed the band to appear on multiple labels.
You're right, and I did read that, and it was kind of it was very unique, but at the same time, I think he was pushing Robbie to go for a lot of the cash where the other guys weren't. I mean, and obviously, we also have to take into consideration that, bless his soul, Richard Manuel was a tortured soul. The guy was a brilliant piano player, but he obviously was a very, he had some personal issues like I've had throughout my adult life, and tragically it took his life in 1986. But I just I don't know. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not an expert on it. Uh, yeah, I can't believe Bob Saget's gone either.
Frank
Frank
says I can't believe Bob Saget is gone. They said he hit his head in the bathroom, and I like the TV show Full House.
But
when
but let's
wait.
wait. So Jesse Jones, do you know who Bob Saget is?
Yes, I do. When did that happen? Did
that
happen
was
recently?
No, that was a while ago.
Oh, that is sad. That's really sad. MRM says $1 Million and Bash is an excellent book on basement tapes, including the band sessions without Bob.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
look that up. Thank you very much for that. I've never heard that. I've heard of that one. So that's my Thanksgiving gift for tonight, folks. I appreciate that, young man. Thank you very much for sharing that. Green Bay is winning. Well, that doesn't.
Green Bay 14 zip over Miami.
Go figure. Anybody the Bears can't beat. Well, we couldn't beat them. We had a chance on the last second field, but I'm not even going there. It doesn't matter. Liverpool 2-0 over Real Madrid. That's all that matters, folks. But we're not going to go back into soccer right now. Hour and 11 minutes in, we're not heading back down that road. But so I want to ask you, for those of Bob Dylan fans out there, anybody's thought on Bob Dylan's record "Blood on the Tracks"? Are you familiar with it? What did you think about it? Yeah, Giants are terrible. I'm heartbroken. They're a New York team. Oh. No. New York is New York. It's not. Yeah, he was definitely he was a moneymaker. There was no doubt about it. That's a great point. I did read a really long article about Albert Grossman. Probably not one of the he knew how to make money, that's for sure.
Can I have a water?
Go ahead. But I'm wondering if anybody has any happy Thanksgiving to you, Cosmic Sunbeams. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I love Blood on the Tracks too. That was a great record. I don't think a lot of people. Yeah, go figure. And that was a big thing. And I mean, kids today, even musicians in the music industry that started recently, publishing and things like that, they have no clue about any of that. You know, that was such a big thing back then, and that's where and I mean, I look back, you look at, and there's so many artists. You look at Bruce Springsteen. He made basically nothing off his first 3 records that his manager owned. Chilling with Dylan. There you go. I love it. You know, Springsteen, Black Sabbath, you know, Sharon Osbourne's dad, Don Arden, they didn't make any money off those first few records. They just literally were making pennies on the thousands, you know, if you know what I mean. So that was a big part of the industry back then. And I think that in today's day and age with, you know, streaming services and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, obviously nobody really buys records anymore. You just play it off of YouTube or your streaming service or whatever it is you use, which, by the way, this is an unpaid advertisement, but I use a service called Tidal, Tidal. To me, top of the line music streaming service, and offer FLAC files, high end audio for those that have. I also, another unpaid advertisement is, if you're into using earbuds or headphones, I suggest Nura brand, Nura. I believe it was bought by the Denon Company, but if you haven't heard of them, check them out. Those are my favorite, by far and away the best ones I've ever had. But Yeah, Springsteen was one of them. I mean, he that's another book, and I guess now that a lot of the musicians are getting older, or more mature, that's our code word today, is they're writing books, and it's fascinating stuff if you're a reader, and even if you're not, a lot of them are also doing audiobooks and stuff. So, um, wow. Yeah, yeah, he did do those monster shows. I mean, I was kind of late to the Bruce Springsteen party. I mean, I knew who he was, I knew some of the music, but I never really dug deep into him. And I had, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, a little longer than that. Probably in the late '80s, obviously, like after Born in the USA and all that stuff. I kind of dug into his catalog, and man, he's got some amazing stuff. And that thing he did on Broadway here recently was just class A. I can understand now why it's sold out for the whole run and on Broadway, because that was amazing. Where he, just sang some songs and talked about how he, the reasoning behind some of the songs, and that's the power of this thing called music. That's what I love about music, because it can mean so many things, so many different things to so many. Yes, sir, freehold. Yes, indeed. You gotta love the Jersey Shore, South Jersey. But Asbury Park. Greetings from Asbury Park. But the thing about music is that it can mean so many different things to so many different people, and we can all talk about whether it be the band's Last Waltz, or whether it be the Allman Brothers at Fillmore, or whether it be a Grateful Dead show, but yet uh, we can all take away something different that hits us personally, and sweet. In 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 Mississippi, where in Mississippi? Hattiesburg. 81. Wow, so that had been Born in the USA time. No, that was like 84. We've only been live streaming. This is our third live stream, Frank. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Starksville, Mississippi State University. Gotcha. Gotcha. Frank, this is only the third time that we've done a live stream. So we're still kind of growing. We're still getting our sea legs into doing this. So, but like I said, I got the chief, the head writer, the boss, the researcher, the check writer, the gap, the studio setup.
What's a gap?
A gap is a person that moves everything around. Taxi cab driver, chief antagonist, and person who is 46 years old and never been on an airplane. Never barely been west of the Mississippi. In fact, according to her, the United States ends at the Mississippi River. Oh, there's something to the west of that? What? Yeah. Welcome to Northwest Pennsylvania.
Yep, Frank.
Oh yeah.
I'm the big boss.
Yep.
Frank.
Oh yeah, she is the big boss, trust me. I am the lowly little servant. Have you guys ever heard of this thing called Instacart, where people go shopping for you? You're looking at the human version of it right here. Hey, I need you to go into the store and get me
Thank
40.
you, Eddie.
Wow, Eddie, come on now. Don't get her head any big.
MRM.
Oh, wow.
Bruce's
That's cool.
title Darkness on the Edge of Town is from
Wow.
the film Grapes of Wrath.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't realize that. But yeah, Springsteen's got some great stuff, man. I mean, the guy knows how to write a song, boy.
Did you ever see that movie?
Oh yeah, that's the one Henry Ford, right? Isn't it?
Grapes of Wrath. I read the book.
One about
I read the book.
Kansas. Something about in Kansas or something.
Long time ago.
But yeah, the River double album. There you go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, and that's the thing. It just amazes me. You know, last week when we did our live stream, we were talking about women in the early 2000s and, you know, singer songwriters. And I keep going back to this song. It was called Love Song by Sarah Bareilles while we're way off the topic here. But I'm going to share the story yet again because it just amazes me. So you listen to that song and you think she's talking about a guy, like a girl saying, you know, I'm not going to write you a love song because you need one or because you want one. I'm not going to write one for you today. But the reality is she wrote it because the producer, as she's recording her first record, said, you need to write a love song. And she's like, I'm not going to do it. And she wrote that song, which became a hit. So again, I heard that song a bunch of times on the radio. I thought that she was talking about some guy. And here it was all along. And maybe that's how it hit me. But all along, she was just talking about her record producer and saying, I'm not going to do that. So
We love people that go against the grain a little bit.
speak for yourself.
We love people that go against the grain.
Don't get me
That
started.
swim against the current.
Yeah. You don't want to know, folks. You don't want to know.
Against the crowd.
You don't want to know because she swims so far on the wrong side of the stream that see? And unfortunately, I get sucked into the wake. And then next thing you know, I'm on the wrong side of the stream. And I've already been on the wrong side of the stream.
Frank says when his dad goes food shopping, he doesn't ask people where items are, and then it takes a long time because he doesn't ask. Does that remind you of anybody?
Yeah, that reminds me. That's why I just say, give me the money. What do you want? And then hopefully my old decrepit brain will remember what she wants because it's called live Instacart shopping. Moi.
So will you please go in and get me something? Because I'm in my pajamas and I don't want to go inside the store.
Yeah, and we live in Mayberry, Pennsylvania with like 14 people. And she's worried about being in her pajamas when half the people here go to work in their pajamas.
That's not a joke either.
And you think, I'm not kidding
Maybe
you.
not half of them.
Friends, I'm not kidding you here.
Quite a large portion of them.
Best way to shop. Yeah, exactly, Eddie, exactly. If you're the recipient, of course, you know, the boss gets that. Me, I have to walk to the store and then haul it all back. So, yeah, no Instacart shopping for her, for me.
Henry
Henry Ford.
To see his mother after killing the guy in Darkness on the Edge of Town was the line.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I'm not a huge older movie buff. I want to say. It'd
be kind of cool to live in the same house.
Oh, wow.
APO. Do you want to read it?
Wow, that's amazing. Go ahead.
Go ahead and read it.
Go ahead. You can.
My buddy Airbnb Big Pink last year in West, what is that?
Saugerties, New York.
Of band friends, Bill Avis, tour manager in the late 60s, early 70s, showed up with his son and grandson. He had some great stories. Oh my goodness.
Wow, that is amazing. Now that's what I love to hear. That's the kind of stories that I enjoy. I was blessed enough to work in Vegas in the 80s, and I had met some bands and worked as a caterer for concerts in the late 79 through maybe 81 or 82 in Reno. And those are the kind of stories that, and again, it's not really that way anymore. It's just too slick production. It's too big business. And a lot of times, I mean, everything is so open with everybody with a phone, you know, at the concert doing one of these things, you know, going like everybody holding their phone up like that. It's not the same. There's the mystique of a lot of that is kind of gone. And that was what kind of made it special, I think, in certain ways. So,
MRM says Thunder Road is from the 1959 Robert Mitchum film Thunder Road.
Mitchum, or
Robert
no, maybe it is Mithium.
Mitchum. Have you seen that? Did you
No,
see that film?
I haven't. Like I said, I'm not. I gotta be writing all this stuff down because I should be writing all this down.
We can look it up.
Yep, you're right. It is all about.
Yeah.
Go figure. That makes sense. I believe that about Wes Socrates and how it's all, again, it's kind of a way. That's the new thing. We're gonna turn all the empty buildings in these little towns that used to have so much character, and now they're all where the artists go. Yeah, even places like here, they do the same thing, and it's like, I don't know. I kind of tend to use the word hipsters, but what do I know? What do I know? I'm sitting in a Liverpool. I live in a town I live in a town right now where most people don't even know where Liverpool is. They think it's in New York. That's why I'm wearing a Liverpool Football Club hat and shirt and hoodie. So
where's West Soccer?
That's West Socrates. That's kind of by Woodstock, New York.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I can't underestimate the power that music has,
it's amazing how much changed.
And how much it can bring people together to share stories, to reminisce about a concert or a song, whether it be, I don't know, making out with your girlfriend when you were in high school in a car, or from a movie soundtrack, or and I mean, even though it was a bit underwhelming at times, but I mean, you got to admit, at least for me, sometimes I even miss terrestrial radio because they don't even really have radio stations more. Even we have some local stations here. I think there's a country sim, and there's this, what's that one called where you always used to listen to at work?
Oldie station?
92 Gold.
Yeah.
And it's just music on a loop. It's like Sirius, I mean,
you might hear the same song 3 times in an 8-hour shift.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little different than it was back in the day.
Songs. And there's so many other good songs out there.
Wow. To Sir with Love, a good makeout song. Well, you got to find me a girl to make out. I love Vegas in the 70s and early. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I was just discussing that with my mother the other day, talking about how back when I worked there in the 80s, I worked in Vegas from 84 till like 99. And I was just back there, I don't know, 3 years ago. I spent a couple months with my parents, and it was a sad day. And I must say that there was some tears rolling because it's just not the same. Bad out of hell. Jim Steinman. Little known fact about Meatloaf. Did you realize he played on the Free For All record for Ted Nugent when he threw Derek St. Holmes out of the recording session, and they needed a singer, and so Tom Mormon brought in Meatloaf to sing Hammer Down. So gotta love you some Meatloaf. He was also standing right there. I believe he's on one of the videos. I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about how he was standing at the hospital entrance when they brought JFK's body, because he was from Dallas. And he was, I think, on one of the videos of him and his buddy were standing at the hospital entrance when they brought the body in. Go figure. Yeah, for sure. It is sad when neighbors move away. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, especially nice ones. But she hasn't moved yet. She made me move away. Go figure. I don't know. So Dead and Company. Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah,
Avio
wow.
said
I've heard a
saw Ben and
lot.
Company at the Sphere 16 and 17. Amazing venue. First time in Vegas. What a trip. Wow.
Oh, wow. Awesome, Frank. You were born. Well, happy belated birthday. Wow, that Sphere is an amazing place. When I was out there, it hadn't opened yet. They were still building it, and I saw some video of that first. I think U2 was the first one that played there, and man, I'll tell you that is. In fact, we were filming one of the YouTube videos uh, up in Chautauqua Lake up in New York, and one of the ladies that was there with her granddaughter or something, said that she said it's almost distracting because the video is so crazy that it's sometimes hard to pay attention to the band because you're watching all the video around. But I highly suggest if anybody out there in the chat that hasn't seen anything about the Sphere in Las Vegas, check it out on YouTube. I know there's some really cool videos. Levon's take on what happened is one-sided. Robbie primarily wanted to get off the road. Yeah, well, that's a legitimate thing. Those guys definitely had some issues, but I still think that it is one-sided, and he was tough, man. He carried that to his grave. I don't think they ever really settled that feud, but I do think that I think Robbie taking a lot of the credit for that music. I'm not sold on that. It should have gone that way. But again, that was the business. And, there's no doubt he was an entrepreneur and he wanted bigger and better things. So, I mean, I don't hold it against him. But I do think that if you watch The Last Waltz, I really believe that with Robbie being so close with Scorsese and then being part of the editing and producing of that movie, it's a little slanted a little bit. But that's just my opinion. I'm not educated on the thing. I didn't know the guys personally. It's just my take, and and but you're exactly right. I'm not going to dispute what you just read that comment. Read that one right there.
From Hane?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Levon's take on what happened is one side. Robbie's primarily wanted to get off the road because he was dealing with 3 addicts. I'm not sure how much we're allowed to say on YouTube. He had 3 small children he wanted to spend more time with.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm not disputing that fact. And I did like what he does.
Oh, wow.
Another thing that I do want to suggest, if you haven't seen it, is to go on right on here at YouTube, the one and only YouTube, and check out "Plan for a Change." Robbie does a great version of a song on there. He's involved with that program, or he was before he passed, and so I did enjoy that. But thank you for that comment. It's definitely that's one side of the. But again, and he was the entrepreneur. He was the businessman. So
ABO says Richard Manuel was seriously injured in a boating accident in late '75. Yep. That also added to them wanting to get off the road.
No doubt about it. I think, was it a boating accident or was it a car accident? I'm not sure. And he also had some serious personal issues that he was a tortured soul, but boy, he could sing like an angel, man. That guy had a voice that was a gift, and he's really funny in the movies, just kind of aloof and kind of goofy, but boy, he had a voice. He just, and I mean, I've struggled with that kind of stuff most of my adult life, and thankfully I'm sober today and I've got my act together. So Robbie wrote much of the songs, and they all made a lot of money. Much was wasted on drugs and bad money management. Okay, I will do that. I know I've got Robbie's book on the back burner. I haven't read that book. I've only read Levon's book, but I will definitely read Hoskins' biography of the band. I mean,
balance is good. It's good to get all
and I appreciate that. I know I'm a little Levon heavy centric, and I
Always gonna
know
do your research.
you are right, and I knew, and I'm glad you're there to kind of check me back into, but I don't know. There's just something
Thank
about
you. I am glad you
that.
are too.
There was just
Please
something
check.
about Levon Helms that hit me,
He
man.
needs checked sometimes.
Excuse me.
Sometimes he needs checked.
Excuse me. But I do. There was just something about Levon. I love that American, the Southern, the clash of all the different cultures, and that's what makes music great, especially Americana music. How he pulled in so many different country, blues, rockabilly, rock and roll, and he kind of always.
ABO says you are right about
Oh,
the car
okay.
accident, and then he had
Gotcha.
the
Yeah,
boating
I knew
accident near
there was
Austin.
something. Yeah, I knew it was they were some wild, man. I mean, there's some great stories about the, I don't again, I guess I'm under wraps on how much I can say, but I know that there was some editing done to the film with the Van Morrison uh section of the movie where certain things, let's just say, had to be wiped from the film because it was literally running out his nose. So, I mean, that's all documented. I mean, that's not.
Frank wants to know if you think the Phillies will get it together and start winning.
Well, I think for Philadelphia, they would hope so. That's a tough crowd of people to please, so they better start winning. Because Philly's rough, boy.
So they can make cake.
They are rough fans, so I wouldn't want to be a player for any Philadelphia sports team because you better win or it's not going to go well. But I live in the woods in Northwest Pennsylvania now. This is my adopted home, and we don't even know what sports are here. Sports? What's that, like taking a bow and arrow and trying to shoot a deer? That's a sport here. I'm just kidding. Sorry. The boss is giving me the head shake that yeah, sometimes I do miss the old players, but so I mean, but it's a cautionary tale, getting back to the band, it's a cautionary tale of that lifestyle, and and obviously now that bands are more on the road, and they're not having to like write music on the road. You remember the, tour, album, tour, album, tour, writing while you're on a tour bus and all that stuff. Now that they can do it in their house, it's more about just tour, 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 tour. But, there's something to be said, man. There was a lot of excess. And I mean, you can talk so many bands, the Eagles, the band, Led Zeppelin, the list goes on and on. Black Sabbath. I mean, we could do a 20-hour live just on all that. So I think I appreciate everybody. Frank, Eddie, MPO, the gentleman with the, I still, with that name.
MRM.
Yeah, MRM. Everybody who's joined us tonight. We want to thank you so much for being here with us. We had a great time. I love all the comments. I love the interaction. I love the knowledge that you shared with me. And thank you, Haney, about, you're right. I mean, I'm a little Levon eccentric. I get it. But Frank, we thank for having you. Eddie, we thank for everything you do, Frank. We thank Eddie for being here, and everybody who's joined us tonight. We hope you have a safe rest of a Thanksgiving tonight. We're so glad that you joined us. I'm so blessed and overwhelmed that you would take the time to spend with us and share your knowledge. And we couldn't be. Yes, we'd love to have you. 8 p.m. Thursday night, next Thursday night. We'll do it all over again, 8 p.m. If you have any ideas on what you want to talk about or something where we could start the conversation, put it in the comments in one of our community posts or one of the videos that we had. And I'd love to do a little research, and I'll give you my very tiny educated opinion on it. But this is what I love. Tonight really solidifies why we decided to get in this. I'm not so much about her. She's more about the food. I'm the cook before we do these videos. So as long as there's food cooked before she gets here, then she's all down with it. But I can barely get her to listen to music, you know. So, but I love doing this, and it really means a lot to me. And I love to hear everybody's thoughts. And
There's
it
a lot of
also
great music out there.
and it also helps me to realize, you know, that how we can kind of get on one side of the fence and maybe not see the overall picture. So I really appreciate it. That makes me feel good. I knew I was going to be Levon for whatever reason. I can't. I just, it's that music. He's hit me, and I've watched a lot of the Midnight Ramble stuff, and I've listened to that Dirt Farmer extensively. That's such a great record. So bless you, Levon. Bless you.
We all have our favorites.
We wanna say rest in peace to
It's
Robbie
okay.
Robertson, to Levon Helm, to Rick Danko, to Richard Manuel. Bless all their families and the legacy of the music that they left us. That's the thing. The music will never go away. Yeah, they may have been tortured souls. Maybe they had some personal issues or addiction issues. But you know what? That music can never be taken away from any of us. Thank you to the great YouTube for it being there, but also all the streaming services and all the places where you can find the music. So thank you very much for joining us. We're going to wrap this up tonight. We're going to let you enjoy your families. Hopefully, everybody's with family. If you're not with a family member or family members,
We're
or,
glad that you could spend time with us.
yeah, thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. And if you're feeling like, you know, you're having a rough evening, or, you know,
Because
I know
we
the how.
really enjoy spending time with you. He doesn't.
But I do appreciate it, and I love everything that.
Sorry, the stardom's is really starting to go to his little pinky.
The stardom? She doesn't even pay me. She made me sign a contract. I don't get paid for this.
I had to sign a contract too, and it said that I could only get 1/10 of the airtime at best.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I had to sign to not being able to do anything but have my voice on videos. Because the attention deserves to be on the spotlight on the star. The star.
And if you're not sure why this should be, refer back to our last live and scrub it to the about 30 minutes left mark and watch the intensely looking Jesse Jones go off on blue M&Ms and Cadbury eggs, and you'll understand why we keep it to 1/10 of the percentage of the live for her to talk. So we appreciate everybody. Remember
The what looking?
Yeah,
The
the
what
intense looking.
The intense.
Yeah, but we really appreciate you joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time and spending your time and choosing to spend some time with us tonight. You really made our Thanksgiving special. Be safe. Have a great week. If you're having some issues around this holiday time, please reach out to somebody. There's no reason to be alone. Somebody will be out there to help to talk with you, or, you know, just give you a minute to, and maybe suggest some music to listen to. And what I suggest this week, go on YouTube music and TV. I mean, movies and TV. It's called The Last Waltz by The Band. Check it out. Enjoy it. And give some love to Muddy Waters and all the guy, Eric Clapton, and all the great guests that were on that show.
Van
Morrison and Neil Young and Bob Dylan and Ronnie Hawkins and Bobby Charles and Ron Wood and Ringo Star, and there's the cast of thousands. Neil Diamond even.
Neil Diamond was in it?
Yeah. Did you? No.
That's cool.
But thanks again for joining us. Remember, our goal here, again, I'm Timothy Lee. I'm the host of Music Meltdown, Idiosyncratic Idiots Music Meltdown. This is the creator, producer, boss, head check writer, gapper, setter upper, and overall taxi cab driver, the intense Miss Jessie Jones. And we want to thank you for joining us. And remember, we want to keep music alive. So have a water cooler talk this week at work about music, some of your favorite music. Thanks for all the great suggestions. Thanks for spending your time with us. We are more overwhelmed and blessed that you would choose us to spend some time with. And remember, as always, boom, keep it loud. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Good night. Be safe.